Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking into something a bit different. We've combined accounts, police notes, PI reports, basically pulling back the curtain on those rare times when private investigation gets truly terrifying.
Right. Most PI work, let's be honest, it's mundane. Stakeouts, paperwork.
Exactly. Sitting around, maybe eating biscuits like one PI mentioned. Yeah. But these cases, these are the ones that stick with you, where the truth is just darker than you could imagine.
And that's our focus. These really unsettling accounts from PIs themselves, cases that went sideways into fanaticism or just pure baffling mystery, and sometimes into calculated human cruelty.
Okay, let's dive right in. First up, the Solano case. This starts back in 2006 with a PI in Mexico they called Uncle Carlos, not in like a cartel hotspot, more middle-class area. He thought he was taking on a standard marital affair job.
Yeah, a woman named Maria Solano came to him, and her problem at first glance seemed like, well, a family issue, a son gone astray.
Right. Her son, apparently a good kid, had just sort of fallen in with a local gang. Stopped coming home. Then, after a few days, her husband decided he'd had enough. He went to confront this gang himself.
Which is always a risky move.
Always. And he never came back either. Just gone. So now Maria has lost her son and her husband. She's desperate and furious.
Naturally, she goes to the police. Points straight at the gang. Seems obvious, right?
You'd think.
Yeah.
But the police, well, the reports say they did little to help, just half-assed efforts. They basically refused to properly investigate the gang.
And that right there, that's a huge warning sign. Police ignoring the prime suspects. It suggests the gang had influence, fear, maybe bribes, maybe something else entirely.
Maria didn't give up, though. But when she started asking her own questions, things escalated. She got a phone call, deep male voice telling her to just cut her losses and move on.
Chiller.
And the way she described the voice, Carla said this really unnerved him. She said it was a weird mix, threatening, but also kind of concerned. And she felt like she almost recognized it, like someone local.
Ugh, that makes it worse. It feels personal then, like they're watching from close by, rooted in the community.
She kept pushing anyway. Started looking around where the gang hung out. And that's when they stopped warning her and got physical. She gets a letter delivered. Inside was a severed human ear.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And a note. Just said, "We told you to stay away."
That's not just a threat. That's a promise. Absolute ruthlessness, designed to shut someone down completely.
Carlos took the case then, but even his old police buddies warned him off. Told him, drop it for your own good. But he didn't. He decided he had to see this place for himself. Surveillance.
Risky. Very risky, given what happened to the husband.
Totally. He found their hideout, a remote shack, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. He settles in for the night, probably expecting to see some minor stuff, maybe drug deals.
Right, typical gang activity.
But then, around 3 a.m., things got really weird. About 15 people came out of the shack. And they were, get this, naked, covered head to toe in white paint. Yeah. They'd built this huge bonfire, started circling it, moving in these twisted, unnatural ways, screaming, chanting. Carlos said it sounded inhuman, truly disturbing.
Okay, this is not a normal gang.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Then, one of them brings out a dog, and right there, in front of everyone, he slits its throat. A sacrifice.
Wow, okay. So Carlos realizes instantly, this isn't just crime, this is a cult. Fanatical. Dangerous.
Exactly. And suddenly the police in action makes a terrifying kind of sense. They weren't just dealing with thugs, they were dealing with potentially unhinged zealots. Maybe they were scared, maybe compromised. Who knows?
Fear makes sense. Cops are wary of groups like that. Unpredictable, violent for reasons you can't easily understand.
But Carlos couldn't investigate further because then Maria Solano herself vanished, just like her husband and son, a ghost.
Bro.
And then Carlos got the final warning. If he kept digging, he'd end up like them. And his wife, his daughters, they'd be sold into sex slavery.
He had to stop. Of course he did. His family was threatened.
He had no choice. To this day, the entire Solano family, gone. No bodies, no leads, nothing. The trail just went completely cold, swallowed up. The bad guys in this case, they won.
It's a grim reality of this kind of work sometimes. When you're up against fanaticism, the usual rules just don't apply. Sometimes evil does win.
Okay, let's shift gears from that kind of organized horror to something utterly baffling. Our second case takes us to Yosemite National Park. A PI was hired about a year after a young man named Chad vanished there.
And this sounds like it might edge into that really strange territory, the kind of stuff researcher David Paulides has documented. Cases where the evidence just doesn't add up physically.
That's exactly where it went. Chad and his friend went missing. These guys were experienced outdoorsmen. They knew what they were doing. Search teams went out, and all they found were 2 pairs of empty boots, just standing upright in a clearing.
Wait, just the boots, standing up.
Standing up. No bodies, no blood, no footprints leading away from the boots. Nothing.
That's deeply weird. In search and rescue, you look for signs. Footprints, discarded gear, maybe signs of a struggle or even paradoxical undressing from hypothermia. Empty boots standing there? That defies logic.
And it gets stranger. The police dogs, they couldn't track anything, got confused, apparently started walking in circles. And the PI interviewing the park rangers said they were really evasive, hostile even, like they didn't want him looking into it.
That ranger reaction is also a recurring theme in some of these weird cases. Almost like there's something they know or suspect that they aren't allowed to talk about.
So the PI, faced with this impossibility, he starts digging into similar disappearances. And that's how we stumbled onto the whole missing 411 phenomenon. Pauly does his work cataloging these vanishings that share really specific, eerie characteristics.
And the sheer number of these cases, often clustered around national parks and wildlands across North America, is staggering. It's been called the nation's silent mass disaster because the patterns are so consistent, yet so inexplicable by conventional means.
Let's run through some of those patterns the PI encountered in his research, because they relate directly back to Chad's case. First, victims often vanish instantly, sometimes right beside family or friends. No sound, no struggle, just gone.
Which defies normal abduction or getting lost scenarios.
Right. Second, if people are found alive, they often have missing time or amnesia about the event itself. Can't explain how they got where they were found.
Also very unusual. Trauma can cause memory issues, but this seems different, more pervasive in these cases.
Third, and this one is really mind-bending. When bodies are recovered, they're often found in places that seem impossible to reach. Or, stranger still, in areas that were searched thoroughly just days before, like that little boy found laid out perfectly on a tree stump miles away.
How? Exactly. And linking back to the boots and the dogs, the lack of scent trail is a huge marker in 411 cases. Experienced hunters vanish, their rifles found untouched beside their gear. The dogs hit a wall. It's as if the person was just lifted away, no trace.
So this PI, looking at Chad the case, the empty boots, the confused dogs, the weird location, it fit the pattern. He had to go back to Chad's parents and basically say, I don't know. It's an impossible nut to crack.
There are no conventional answers. The evidence contradicts itself.
His chilling conclusion was essentially someone or something is taking our people. That's what the investigation ended. Pure mystery.
And it forces you to ask, when logic and evidence fail so consistently across so many cases, are you dealing with statistical outliers, or are you seeing evidence of something else? Something current methods just can't grasp.
Okay, for our final story today, we pivot back from the truly strange to something maybe more familiar, but no less chilling. Human cruelty, betrayal, but with a twist that saved a life.
Right. Sometimes the monster is much closer to home.
So this PI gets hired by a woman, described as gorgeous, very wealthy. She thinks her husband is cheating, but here's the thing. She has zero proof, no texts, no weird credit card charges, nothing concrete. Just a feeling. He's acting off. Cold, distant, working late.
That's interesting right away. Usually there's something, even small clues. A wealthy wife, an unremarkable sales-type husband. If it's not an affair, an investigator starts thinking about other motives, like maybe financial.
Exactly. The PI trusts her gut, though. Agrees to set up surveillance. The wife arranges to be away for the weekend, staying with family. Perfect opportunity. They get hidden cameras, audio mics set up in the house.
Standard procedure for infidelity cases.
The husband comes home, hangs out for a bit. Then a visitor arrives. The PI, watching the feed, thinks, okay, here we go. Must be the lover. He's ready to wrap it up.
Case closed, right?
But then he listens to the audio feed and the conversation. It's not about an affair. The visitor isn't a lover. He's a hitman.
Whoa. Okay, that escalated quickly.
Totally. The husband, this unremarkable suit, is walking the hitman through the house, pointing at entry points, talking about alarms, basically planning how to stage a robbery gone wrong, a home invasion.
To kill his wife.
To kill his wife. Make it look random, tragic. He gets her fortune, has an alibi. It was all coldly calculated. And the only reason it came to light was her initial feeling that something was just off.
Incredible. That intuition saved her. And the PI getting that audio, that's solid gold evidence.
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Because the PI realized immediately, listening to that planning, the wife had maybe days left. This wasn't theoretical. It was happening now.
No time to waste. You hear that, you act. Conspiracy to commit murder is being planned right there.
He didn't hesitate. Called the police immediately, handed over the recordings. That audio, that planning session, it was enough. 2 life sentences for conspiracy to commit murder.
Wow. Saved her life, literally.
Yeah. And the PI himself said, most days it's boring, watching cars, eating snacks. But then you get a case like this. The stakes suddenly become life and death. He wasn't just catching a cheater. He stopped a murder plot fueled by pure greed.
And it highlights the value of that independent investigator sometimes. The police need probable cause, a crime reported. The PI could act on just the client's intuition, put the pieces together, and uncover something truly dark before it was too late.
So 3 cases, 3 very different kinds of darkness. We have the Solano family, just erased by this terrifying occult group hiding in plain sight. Organized fanaticism.
Then the sheer impossibility of the missing 411 phenomenon. Cases like Chad's in Yosemite, where Lodgen just breaks down, leaving you with terrifying questions and no answers.
And finally, that cold-blooded murder plot. A reminder that sometimes the most vicious threats are hiding behind a familiar face, driven by simple, ugly greed.
What connects them, I think, is how easily the truth can be hidden, how threats can operate in the shadows, whether they're cults, unknown forces, or spouses. The real world can be much scarier, much more mysterious than fiction.
And you're left wondering, how many other families became ghosts like the Solanos? How many vanishings in those parks remained utterly inexplicable? And not knowing, that's the chilling part, isn't it? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into these disturbing cases. If you found this compelling, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. We'll bring you more true and terrifying stories. Farewell.